What's good? Welcome back to the channel, or if you're new to the channel, welcome! Today we are kicking off our Paradox Rift best new cards and the best way to start any new set. So if you enjoyed today's content, and I've earned a like and a sub, be sure to do both of those things. It would be greatly appreciated. I'm trying to hit 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I'm looking at another giveaway to celebrate such a milestone if we hit it. If you don't enjoy the video, which is my favorite part, because you know there will be somebody. If you don't enjoy today's video, let me know in the comments down below what you did not enjoy. What can I work on? Where was I wrong? Did I mark something too high or too low? By all means, have at her. I love a good contrast of opinion. I love to hear what you thought of today's list. What do you think of Paradox Rift? With all those formalities out of the way, let's dive right in. Let's have some fun talking Pokemon. So as I mentioned, my honorable mentions would have been 23 cards long. I'm not going to talk about every single card that did not make today's list. I'm going to talk about 3 notable ones that really stood out for one reason or another that you should at least be aware of, that almost cracked my list or was somewheres in between, that just, gathered a minute or two of my time. Brute Bonnet. So it is an ancient Pokemon, Rapid Strike, Single Strike, Fusion Strike. It just has a keyword. It just allows it to synergize with existing cards and cards down the line. It's here for its ability. Once during your turn, if it has an ancient booster energy capsule attached, both Pokemon are poisoned. Basically, it's math fixing. With Radiant, Hisuian, Sneasler, it's an extra 30 damage. 30, 20, 10 damage all go a long way in fixing things because Pokemon is very particular with its numbers, and anytime you can squeeze a little bit more out of a combo, especially one like this, you take it. It'll come down the line when things get bigger or when things get bulkier. You name it, just keep an eye on it. Morpeko. It is a free retreat Pokemon. If it has no energy attached, it has no retreat cost. You never know when the application comes up, and having a free retreat option in the deck is always nice. Toedscruel. Cards in your opponent's discard pile cannot be put into their hand by the effects of opponent's abilities or trainer cards. So there's a few decks in format that love to dump energy into the discard pile as they declare large attacks. This might see some play, this might see no play, but I thought these were all very interesting and worth talking about even for a moment. But with that said, let's dive into the list and try to see how quickly we can get through these 20 cards. In at number 20, we are talking Low Kicks. Why I'm looking at it, I am a Zorobox believer. We have one more kick at the proverbial cat. With Reversal Energy, it fills the attack cost. It does 40 damage for each damage counter on your opponent's active. Vengeful Punch, if your opponent knocks something out earlier, it puts 4 damage on that Pokemon. So all of a sudden we're hitting 160. It can be transformed into with Zoroark. So it is one of many attackers in the Zorobox, and Dark type is nothing to scoff at. I do think it's easier to work with Crabominable V. I am eager to try it out with a new line of Zoroark box where it's 1 to 2 energy attackers. We're using spreading attacks, devolving attacks, punishing kick here, and really just trying to overwhelm our opponent everything at once, all at the same time. Might flop, but again, it's my number 20. Don't like my list? Let me know down below. In at number 19, we're talking Aegislash. This is the best walling card we've seen in quite some time. It prevents all damage from EX and V Pokemon to it. It does 120 damage and ignores the effects on your opponent's Pokemon. Why it is the best? There is plenty of support and a branching evolution line. For 1 metal energy, it does 70 damage for each prize card you've taken. We can stay on the defensive with Mysterious Shield. When the time is right, we can jump into this 330 behemoth and take damage based on how aggressive we've been through the run of the game. Or sometimes we just double down, 2 attachments, swing with 220. So you pick and choose your moments. I think it allows for a little bit more skill. You have 2 different play styles. It's a branching evolution. You're not just sitting there going hard bash, attack. That's it. No, you have options, and I think this deck will see play, and I'm really loving what they do with Metal Pokemon. So keep an eye out. I have a video lined up for this one, and hopefully we get it out to you in the coming days. In at number 18, Tulip. So this one here is a reprint of Nessa. So put any 4 in combination of Psychic Pokemon and Basic Psychic Energy from your discard pile into your hand. The main ones that come to mind, Shadow Rider Calyrex, that likes to flood its board with energy, so anytime you take a knockout, you typically just want to reattach those. Tulip is a way to do that. My brain has been rotted out by all the Lost Mine videos, Lost Box videos, so grabbing 2 Sableyes, 2 Psychic Energies, reestablishes the Lost Mine checkmate. Tulip is good there. There's another card that plays with a flooding type of mentality. Gardevoir didn't even mention. I could go on. Tulip's got a lot to like. It's one of those cards that are good now, better when rotation hits. In at number 17, we're talking Bombardier. Before you roll your eyes and tune out, hear me out. You ever struggle getting into the game? You shuffle up, you draw your cards, you play your Pokemon, you got nothing? Well, if this is one of your Pokemon to start, you can really set up. So you can use this attack going first if you won the coin flip, or going second. If you go first, you can use this attack on your first turn. Search your deck for 3 basic Pokemon, put them into play. I value setting up. So I would much rather this over, say, a Squawkabilly. I think this is the better card because it is bigger and because you set up. Sometimes I want to hold my hand. It is a Jet Energy away from 3 Pokemon. It is a Battle VIP pass and a half. So you're getting 3 Pokemon. You can use it beyond the first turn as well. So it's not entirely dead if you miss it early, but typically you want to use it early. When VIP pass rotates, this card sees a lot more value. And don't worry about getting it off the board. Sometimes we want to sack some prizes just to get into it from the Giratina days. Sometimes we have ways to just collapse Stadium it off the board. You name it. I think Bombardier is a very good card that you should give a bit of playtesting to before you write it off entirely. And at number 16, we are talking Gorgeous Mantle. My goodness, when they revamped the tool system, they went all in. This is one of those new wave tool cards. If the Pokemon this card is attached to does not have a rule box, it gets 100 hit points, and if it's knocked out by damage, not damage counters, damage from an attack, your opponent takes an additional prize. Small price to pay to buff up some of these incredible targets. All of these Pokemon getting an extra 100 hit points goes a long way. Aegislash, Gardevoir, annoying little Manaphy, Dodrio. The applications could go on. I could do an entire video. I think letting them play with the big boys for the 2 prize thing will have its moments. You pick and choose. And if somebody comments down below with the haters guide, oh, but Brandon, we play Lost Vacuum. Yeah, you know what? Let them have the vacuum. Not every deck plays it. Not every deck can afford to play it. If they decide to play the vacuum, so be it. GG's. But not every deck can afford to have the space. Not every deck will constantly be playing them. So dare them to have it and respond accordingly. And if they knock it out, they only get 1 prize. Who cares? 1 vacuum. Chances are when we apply the mantle is not defensive, it is offensive, which is why I included these targets specifically. All right, so moving on. Brandon's out here addressing his imaginary haters. In at number 15, we have Technical Machine Turbo Energize. This is one of the first new TMs that I thought were worth mentioning. Is it too low? Potentially. After this Pokemon tool card has been attached, you can use this attack, but after it has been attached, discard it at the end of your turn. For 1 energy, search your deck for 2 basic energy, attach them to your bench Pokemon in any way you like. So we lose the coin flip. Sometimes we don't really get that advantage, but by accelerating multiple energy, we are kind of getting 2 attachments and kind of mitigating that advantage that going first usually gives. So we can get 2 attachments on the board. We can set up multiple attackers. Pokemon is always a game of what you got next. And Technical Machine Turbo Energize allows us to kind of better prepare for what we have next. Sure, you can have my active Pokemon, but I'm going to already have 1 step up on what I want to do next. A Pokemon that's been sitting in the bulk for the last year, Klefki. Now it shuts off basic Pokemon, so you can attach it to this, you can accelerate, you can slow them down. Hell, you might even be able to take their advantage going first away. You slap one of these in the active on a Lost Box, they might not be able to respond. And then all of a sudden you're turbo energizing, and you basically offset that advantage that they thought they had from you. So I like where it's going. This is one of many we're going to talk about today. And at number 14, we're talking Terra Pokemon. Water type, 320 hit points, bench protection. Terrific traits, Irida support, searchable, 1 fighting energy, 160, accelerate 3 basic fighting energy to the rest, basic fighting to from your discard to your bench Pokemon. No retreat cost. Some targets to come to mind. Rapid Strike Urshifu is probably one of the best VMAXs, if not the best VMAX ever printed, and being able to snipe 120, 120 is still good in a handful of decks. Garchomp covers 1 type, Urshifu covers another, and you can constantly charge it with the Hydro Launder, so you can 160, finish it off with the Rapid Flow. What's not to like? Or you can start charging up your 1 prize army. Garchomp doesn't have to be on the board for more than maybe a turn or 2. After Hydro Lander has set up your army, you can start swinging, you can overwhelm them between your Ionos. sometimes they just run out of steam because you now have a handful of attackers ready and lined up to go. These ones are only a few, but keep in mind anything that attacks for fighting or colorless could see play in Garchomp, or if it has at least one colorless in the attack cost, Garchomp could take advantage of it. Carry on. In at number 13, Skeledirge EX. I love this Pokemon. This continues with the branching evolution. So it's Terra type, it's Metal type, its weakness is pretty much non-existent. Discard a basic fire energy from your hand to use the ability. Your Pokemon do 60 more to the active before applying weakness. Discard 2, that's an extra 120. So all of a sudden you're doing 280 for 2 energy, and it doesn't care about the effects on your opponent's active. Some Pokemon I wanted to talk about. These take extra prizes or previously hit weird numbers they just couldn't really reach. Stoutland takes an extra prize if it knocks out, so discard 1 or 2 and it's hitting 160 on a basic. Greedent had an ugly 30, but if you knock out a basic, take 2 prizes. So now you can hit up to 150 off of 2 and take 2 extra prizes. So 3 prizes or 4 prizes. Skeledirge was sitting at weird 50 and 270 numbers, but with this song ability, you can hit 330 or 310 or 110 and heal. You name it. I think you have some sustain game there when you're playing against 1 prize decks, which lends itself to some creativity. Come on now. Have you ever looked at Arceus and goes, man, this deck doesn't hit hard enough? You can use Skeledirge as a support Pokemon. So Trinity Nova could hit 260 or 290 or 310, and Magma Basin also lets you double dip on your fire Pokemon. One not mentioned but worth noting is Radiant Zard. One of these abilities allows you to hit for 310 damage or 370 damage for 2 with a 1 prize Pokemon. So nothing is safe from Skeledirge. Big fan. I've got another deck on the way. Keep an eye out. Roaring Moon, I'm not going to chat too long about this one. It's an instant knockout for 3. It's the face of ancient Pokemon. Some cards you can charge it up with. Thornton lets it cheat in from other things, so you can charge up your board how you see fit. And Calamity Storm does 100 and 120 more if you discard a Stadium. 220 is nothing to scoff at. There's ways to manipulate that number. I do think it's a very good card. I don't like the card, but again, it's the face of ancient Pokemon at the moment, and it's here to stay. So keep an eye out on it. It will be part of a toolbox rather than its own deck soon enough. And at number 11, you can tell my bias is showing, Xatu. So we quickly brushed over the other guy to talk about this one. It is Shadow Rider on a 1 prize Pokemon. So once during your turn, attach a basic energy card from your hand to one of your benched Pokemon. If you've done this, draw 2 cards. We mentioned Tulip, we mentioned Fog Crystal, so we're going to flood our board with energy. We couldn't have Shadow Rider on just 1 Pokemon, so we took 1 prize, kept the draw engine, and we took the attacking part and put it on a 2-prizer. So it does 30 damage for all of your psychic energy in play. I think Xatu will fill the niche of accelerating energy for psychic Pokemon, and it will fill any colorless costs. So it can help smooth over decks and just get that additional attachment and allow you to chase ahead. So I do like Xatu for that. I am intrigued to try it out for a handful of decks. And again, I've got another video on the way, but Xatu is a ton of fun. And at number 10, we are talking about possibly the most broken tool card in the set in a set's time. Future Booster Energy Capsule. The future Pokemon this card is attached to has no retreat cost, and it does 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So this combines the 2 most powerful tool cards, I think, running around in Expanded. I don't know for certain, because I stay away from that mess of format. But Floatstone gives you free retreat. Muscle Band lets you do 20 damage with no extra cost. Smashing those together, slapping them on future Pokemon. If they print something absolutely broken, this could, in hindsight, be the best card in the set. We will have to see, but right now, the targets on it have it in at number 10. Be wary of it. It could see some play with all of the ways of finding it. In at number 9, we are talking Professor Sada's Vitality. Choose up to 2 of your ancient Pokemon and attach a basic energy from your discard pile to each of them. If you attach an energy in this way, draw 3 cards. It's double Melanie! I love Melanie. Who doesn't love Melanie? It's such a good card. Getting 2 attachments, getting 3 cards, setting up 2 attackers. Again, Pokemon's about who you got next. So you're setting up multiple attackers. Sandy Shocks, when your opponent has 4 or fewer prizes, puts an energy from the discard pile onto it with its ability. So you're never too far away from having a fully charged attacker. Roaring Moon, this, and whatever future ancient Pokemon we get down the line could be very terrifying. You never know. I think Sada's Vitality is a card to keep an eye on. It is Probably one of the best types of cards you could see designed for a new archetype. In at number 8, Iron Hands. I'm going to sit there right now and tell you the card is good. It is not the second coming of ADP. Get that out of the way right now. But Amp You Very Much is very interesting. For 120 damage, if your opponent's Pokemon is knocked out by this attack, take one more prize card. We have seen this several times in Pokemon's history through Lugia EX and Guzzlord from Cosmic Eclipse. Are the cards powerful? Absolutely. Does this require a bit of bending and contorting your deck strategy to take advantage of? Oh, absolutely. I don't think this is the end of the world like people are touting it to be, so don't fret over it. It is a very powerful card in Lightning decks, maybe Charizard, maybe Baxcalibur, but most likely it's just going to sneak its ugly head into Lugia. I think future Lugia is the way. It is the future. In at number 7, we are talking Technical Machine Evolution. Same rule, after the attack's been used, it falls off. Choose 2 of your Pokemon on the bench and evolve each one of them, and then shuffle your deck. So I love this. Again, we're mitigating that going second, losing the coin flip advantage that your opponent usually gets. So with VIP Pass falling off, I think we're getting more of a, you want to go second, depending on your deck maybe? And I'm here for that. I love this card. So it is forcing you to put the stage 1s back into your stage 2 deck. It is allowing you to cheat out your filthy stage 1s. We have ways to search it. Arven is becoming a more and more viable engine every single day. Town Store, I argued, was one of the best Stadium and Obsidian Flame cards. Not that there was much competition, but they revamped the tools for a reason, and I think Evolution is another card that you should strongly consider as you're comprising your deck. And Arven, Evolution, VIP Pass, like, come on, man. It just speaks itself. If you lose the coin flip, hell, you might even get more advantage going second, because that first attack is just so damn big. In at number 6, okay, this one gives me a little bit of nightmares. Iron Valiant EX. So we're already reading off the ability, it's that scary. Once during your turn, when this Pokemon moves from the bench to the active spot, put 2 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon. Yes, it is a future Pokemon. Maybe one of the biggest blunders in terms of design, but we shall see. With all of the switch cards and 4 copies of this card, you can potentially put 8 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon first turn of the game. You could hypothetically donk them. It is going to change fundamentally how we play down Pokemon. So when you start, you typically want to play at least 2 Pokemon now, because you can't afford to lose the game by only benching 1 and this thing taking the cheese and knocking you out. Some targets that will play with it. Sableye, it makes the Lost Mine damage a little more impactful. Hawlucha, again, just bumps up that damage a little more. And some scariness I'm seeing going around, and I've watched some gameplay, I've tested a little bit with it, is Yoga Loop. So if you put 2 damage counters on something and knock it out with this attack, you take an extra turn. So all those 60, 70 hit point Pokemon are now kind of in a bit of trouble, because Tachyon Bits can go 1, 2, maybe 3. And then, again, you can Arven, search for some cards, Medicham, Yoga Loop, do it again. You can tear apart their board. Poor Frigibaxes. If you have a 70 hit point variant for your Pokemon, please play them. Please play as many ways to get out your basics as you can. And you almost, maybe, once you know this is the deck, maybe you want to go second so they can't do the Yoga Loop. Maybe you want to evolve first. I don't know. Iron Valiant has a ton of potential, but a ton of negatives that I don't really like it for. In at number 5, you can argue with any of the cards here. 5 through 2, I could see. Number 1 is not even close. Gholdengo, best new deck, 260 hit points, metal Pokemon, attacks for 1 energy, discard any number of basic energy, so it can be slotted with any type of energy, and it does 50 for each one. It is Blacephalon GX on steroids. Once during your turn, you may draw a card. If this Pokemon is in the active, draw 1 more card. So Pokemon 1000 is very, very good. We have Retrieval in format, we have Letter of Encouragement, we have another card. Adaman lets you discard 2 metal energy and search for any 2 cards you want. So whatever you're missing, it's a tutor for 2. What's not to like? It's Starburst, or discard 2 energy, search for any 2 cards. Like, Gholdengo loves this. This is a very good deck. It's also coming on the TCG Live ladder next week, so everybody's going to get to play it. It's going to have the Charizard effect. It's going to be a fun time. You're going to enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, you got to stop sipping the haterade. Give it a try with an honest take and let me know what you think. In at number 4, we are talking by far the biggest blunder in the TCG for the Scarlet and Violet era. Devolution. Devolve each of your opponent's evolved Pokemon by putting the highest stage into your hand. Why? Like, I get many decks are high rolling with the rare candies. Why would you print this? This is a hateful card. This is a powerful card. Last time I saw anything of relevance with this card was Espeon EX. Your deck is basically Pidgeys to Pidgeots or Charmanders to Charizards. This thing here says, nah, your rare candy was for naught. Your finite resource is gone. This card here could destroy decks. This is why I'm considering a handful of decks where I'm spreading small amounts of counters only to devolve the whole board in one big swing. So Devolution is a step backwards for the game, but in terms of power, it is an incredible, powerful card. If you have issues with Charizard, so you might play this. If you have issues with Baxcalibur, you might play this. Control might see its ugly head finally make its way into the format. The only thing I can say about this card, besides it being so damn powerful, is thank God it falls off at the end of the turn. Carrying on. Defend yourself by putting the stage 1s back into your deck. You'll thank me later. In at number 3, we are towards the end. Jirachi. We're going to tell you right now, this is a Sableye counter. Prevent all damage counters from being placed on your bench Pokemon by attacks of your opponent's basic Pokemon. This protects you from Lost Mine. Did your deck have an issue with Sableye? This might be the easiest way to deal with it. First of all, you're forcing your opponent to build their deck differently. If they don't respect it and play the way they were, you might be able to buy yourself enough of a turn or 2 turns to really claw back and get your baby Pokemon evolved. I think Jirachi is healthy for the game. I think it is great. I think it's annoying. If you don't respect it, that's on you. If you don't play it and you still lose to Sableye, that's on you. Pokemon has given you the answer. How you choose to use that information or use those cards is on you. I think Jirachi is phenomenal. Long overdue. You gotta find another way to nerf Lost Box because it is not going anywhere. Just letting you know now before I get to a tier list in a couple days. In at number 2, we have Counter Catcher. So you love mounting fantastic comebacks, or do you mind playing from behind? This card is right up your alley. You can only play it if you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent. Switch the opponent's bench Pokemon with their active. So this means you can play Roxanne, you can play Iono in the same turn, and that you can get Gust and Hand Disruption. You can mount the comeback. So you can go Path, you can go Roxanne or Iono and Counter Catcher or any sequence of them and just really go for it. And then if your opponent pulled out an early lead but didn't properly plan ahead, you can punish them for it. You can take that game they thought they had from them. I think this is a healthy include. It is great. It is so searchable. Town Store grabs Forest Seal Stone, grabs a Counter Catcher. We have a Stadium that hypothetically grabs this card. We have Arvin, which grabs this card and a tool card. You name it, you can play it at almost any time as long as you don't mind playing a little bit from behind. And I think once players start to embrace this, you're going to see a lot more skill expression. I think Counter Catcher is great for the game. In any other set, this would be number 1. But this is the clear-cut number 2. Whatever reasoning you want to give me for why it's your best card, I get it. It's not my number 1. What is my number 1, though? Earthen Vessel. This card here is Professor's Letter on steroids. You have to discard a card from your hand. If you do, search for 2 basic energy cards. Right now, we are crying for 2 things. Energy search for basic energy and discard. So we need additional outs to discard. There's many, many decks looking for discard synergy. And there are many, many decks looking for ways to have 2, 3, or 4 energy in the hand. Lackluster archetypes to potentially break into the metagame. So with rotation coming, with this card coming, I think there's a few decks that have been sitting in the bulk that are worth playing now. Toad Scroll with Sharam. You can accelerate energy and use Protective Mycelium. So Colony Rush will be a little more impactful. Bouquet Magic, you will have some for attachments off Gardenia. You can have some for the ability. You're not reliant on DTE as you once were, and sometimes Energy Search just wasn't cutting it. You need to get them out of your deck in order for you to use them, and I think this deck needed them. Regidrago, it wanted the energy. It wanted to be able to attack with Apex Dragon, but it also wanted additional ways to discard all of the dragons that need to be in the discard pile for it to attack. I think all of these 3 decks got a substantial power increase with this card's existence, as well as these 1 prize decks. Murkrow, United Wings, they constantly want to be flooding their discard pile with their attackers. Having extra ways to search energy and do the discard thing means you can free up your deck and go a different way. You might be able to add extra attackers. Zoroark, it has been sitting on the cusp of, is it relevant? Is it a pile? And I think Earthen Vessel allows you to free up and move away from the reversal energy builds with Earthen Vessel, and I'm here for that. I have a few builds cooked up. I'm going to try them. Until the card rotates, I'm here for it. And the card has not even been out for 48 hours, and Regigigas has already begun to reappear in Japanese metagames because people love the deck, and it was missing a way to search out all its basic energy, and now it can just search them out and discard them and Ancient Wisdom them all into play. So if I'm missing any other archetypes that Earthen Vessel boosts, this is by far the best card in the set. Argue with me down below. I will respectfully debate with you. I love me a good debate. I'm happy to go back and forth. If you don't like my takes, let me know. What would you put in at number 1? And until next time, guys, thanks for watching. Take care and have fun playing Pokemon. Till next time.